Hello and welcome to the first community-built video that we've made here for the Beastiary. This video was actually very fun to make and we've had a lot of work over the last month, so yeah, I hope everybody does enjoy it. The context for this video is that I asked about, 30 or so days ago, so about a month ago, not that this matters if you're watching it in the future, I asked people if they wouldn't mind making what I was deciding to call a Tulpa, that is to say their own imagined creature, and then also trying to reify it, similar to what I've done with the legendary creatures in the Beastiary videos thus far. We've had 4 entries. Unfortunately, however, one was withdrawn because the person wanted to work on it a little bit more. So we've got 3 to look at right now, and they're all really good. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoy it. First up, we'll be having GreatSaiyaKirby, a frequent commenter on the channel and generally involved in all of the stuff that I do with the Beastiary videos. And he's made a very interesting creature. Let's take a look.
A mysterious and frightening creature, the Quetzalcoatl is an ancient and mysterious entity from Aztec mythology. Formless, shapeless, aquatic, it has haunted lakes, rivers, and perhaps even the ocean for centuries. The Quetzalcoatl made every underground waterway potentially lethal, putting the fear of the gods into any who would encroach on its watery domain. Little is truly known of the Quetzalcoatl, though its name is derived from the Aztec and later Nahuatl language meaning dirty water. Despite its mundane name, the Quetzalcoatl is unlike most other creatures in folklore, as it does not possess the body of a physical animal, but instead seems to be formed from the water itself. It were as if some animating force of the water itself had been given shape. The Quetzalcoatl would attack humans to drown and consume them. Malicious, predatory, and lethal, the only protection from the Quetzalcoatl was to avoid water entirely, though, as humans require water to survive, this was hardly a long-term survival strategy. No weapon can harm it, for how can man harm the water itself? The Quetzalcoatl is truly a strange and unique fixture of Aztec mythology, seemingly the personification of water, albeit in a malignant manner. Unique to its cultural roots, the Quetzalcoatl has no anthropomorphic or even animal shape to be seen in Aztec artwork or literature. A similar example of an animated watery form appears in Disney's Moana, in the form of the ocean, which aids our heroine in her adventures. Although the Quetzalcoatl was never depicted in a benevolent manner, a purely malevolent entity, when depicting an animate force of nature, one would assume a more organic form would be used, as is often the case when personifying nature, such as with the gods of various cultures, Poseidon of the sea of Greek myth, or Thor, or thunder for the Norse. Across the world, it has historically been common for our ancestors to attribute a human or animal form to the forces of nature, yet the Quetzalcoatl looks little different from the water it occupies and embodies, albeit in a more menacing and predatory posture, like a snake coiling to strike or a cat prepared to pounce, but lacking claws, fangs, or any biological element. Why would the Aztecs depict the Quetzalcoatl in such a way? Unless they meant to give form to some aquatic danger or threat, perhaps as a means to illustrate the unseen dangers of subterranean waterways which are common to the area. What better way to warn the foolish and reckless of trespassing in these dangerous areas? Fast-moving underwater currents can be lethal to even the most careful of spelunkers. It is not so strange as we too use enigmatic and fearsome bogeymen to discourage negative behaviour, especially in children. Such a culture would do well to create a means to safeguard its people from bodies of water, where they may find harm by drowning. In any case, the peoples of Mesoamerica treat the Axolotl with great fear and apprehension, this most mysterious of monsters, which no net could catch or snare hold. Reifying the Axolotl seems like quite the task, given no living creature quite matches it in form or design. A purely liquid entity, it would more closely resemble a single-celled animal than anything of the size the folklore gives it, with no arms, legs, or visible anatomy. The best chance of creating a creature which approaches the Axolotl would be to look to creatures such as the Portuguese man-o'-war. Despite its likeness to jellyfish, it is actually made up of countless single-celled organisms, forming a much larger creature to take down prey and float the oceans. However, this runs into the problems that no such creature reaches the size of the Axolotl, nor the aggressive behavior or fluid movements which it exhibits in Aztec folklore. That said, it is important to consider that mythology often is based on the exaggeration or outright fabrication of the natural world. By this line of reasoning, we could presume that the Aztecs did encounter such a creature, and failing to grasp its true nature, they attributed greatly exaggerated and horrific proportions to a creature they did not understand. We may never truly uncover the identity of the Axolotl, its nature as murky and unclear as its name suggests. Who knows what undiscovered beasts may lurk in the waterways beneath our feet? We are uncovering all manner of bizarre and alien creatures the further we penetrate areas of our planet which man was not meant to tread. Would be wise to not probe too deep, or we may be swallowed up by some danger as lonesome and unpredictable as the Axolotl itself. A horrific and truly disturbing creature indeed.
That was a really good video. Thank you, GreatSaiyaKirby. I really appreciate how he managed to capture the original feeling from my first early videos, and even the feeling that sort of continues on to today. He had a very interesting idea with creating these symbiotic creatures that sort of meld into a single animal. In discussions with him, I kept on thinking of things like eusocial creatures similar to ants or naked mole rats that would somehow come together, but I much prefer his idea. And most of all, it's actually quite unique, considering, I've never done anything like that before, and I've never heard anybody suggest anything like that either. So, again, very, very well done. I also particularly liked his artwork, matching as it did very closely to Aztec artwork, and especially the way that he integrated it into the Aztec feeling. Next we have the PokeSaurus, specifically the PokeSaurus, as I have been informed, with a rather short entry, but a very interesting entry. He's gone over something that I've done before, the Behemoth. So let's take a look. For this I chose to expand on my idea of the Behemoth. I thought of the idea of the Behemoth as being solar powered, and it reminded me of yellow-spotted salamanders, and how they can absorb sunlight through a symbiotic relationship with algae that grows on their backs. For this Behemoth, I made it symbiotic with evergreen trees. The trees give the Behemoth the energy needed to move its massive size through photosynthesis. and their roots act as suspension wires. The behemoth both protects the trees and gives them fertile liquids to help them grow. This is why the behemoth must drink so much water, not only to keep itself hydrated, but also to keep the trees healthy. Now, for my behemoth's life cycle, like the yellow-spotted salamander, the behemoth is an amphibian and starts life in the water, which in my myth incidentally inspires the Leviathan, tying them together. The young sea behemoths have armor like shelling over their backs, and the head protects them from predators. Then, as they age, they lose this armor and they develop a sixth pair of legs. For something like a mammal or reptile, this is impossible. But because amphibians start out in water, they first have fins, and as they age, their fins either morph into legs or are absorbed back into the body, and are replaced with legs. If given the right circumstances, I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that an amphibian can develop a sixth pair of limbs. And if said amphibian can survive, these limbs could become a natural part of its form, helping carry its body on land. When it reaches its penultimate form, it buries itself underground for years, like a cicada nymph, hibernating as amphibians do. For years it waits for trees to grow on its back until it has enough to erupt out of the ground. Thank you so much, PokeSaurus. That was very, very good. I particularly like how you worked again with symbiosis here. In fact, that seems to be quite a theme in these two videos, symbiosis. His creature is a lot more, I would say, feasible than my own behemoth, that is, in that it has a constant stream of energy, and that symbiotic relationship with the trees is more or less justified, whereas I just sort of hand-waved and said, probably gets power from the sunlight. He actually went a step further and made the creature an amphibian, as we saw, and just generally worked out the little details. So thank you for that, PokeSaurus. I especially enjoyed the drawings that you made of the life cycle. For anybody interested, the PokeSaurus has been sharing a lot of his illustrations on the Discord channel, which is linked down below, and I highly recommend you take a look at them. He's a budding artist, and it seems that he's rather good at drawing a lot of these interesting Pokemon and recently Kaiju versus Pokemon pictures. That's been quite fun, and he does quite a few funny illustrations as well. So check him out on the Discord. Finally, we have Rex, who has taken a creature from a video game and discussed it and sort of reified it a little bit. So let's see what he's done. The Typhoon. A strange and mysterious creature, the Typhoon has existed since as long as there has been life on this planet. Its shape-changing ability has made it a deadly ambush predator. This has been further enhanced by man's ever greater reliance and interaction with tools and objects of the world. Appearing as a black smoky animal, the Typhoon leaps out to drain the life from unsuspecting passers-by, both man and beast. This, combined with its voracious appetite and tendency to hunt in pseudo-packs, makes it a deadly foe. In culture, we see all manner of shape changes, from mimic boxes in role-playing games like Final Fantasy, to horrible monsters like John Carpenter's The Thing. Our fear of something that appears one way, but is in fact a deception, is almost universal, especially in the case of horrific predators. Most recently, this was taken a step further with the release of the 2017 video game Prey. The black, oozing smoke-like creatures have an essential terror to them. This, combined with their voracious appetite and very disturbing manner of eating, makes one's spine chill with fear. Perhaps what makes this killer so interesting is its small size and quick spider-like movements that seem to defy all logical sense of proportion. Combined with its formless black mass, evocative of chaos incarnate, it is perhaps destined to be one of the legends among shapeshifters. With this pinnacle of shapeshifting terror to add to the roster of famous shapeshifters, it's doubtful that we will ever run out of ideas for such creatures and all their horrible glory. An interesting animal to reify, the Typhoon is a four-legged pseudopod. It most closely resembles the octopus or cuttlefish, and it is this comparison that we also find the solution to the reification. The main selling point of this creature is its ability to change shapes and its appearance in general, although the video game Prey does state that these creatures change places with an object in another universe, and thus technically change shape. We are still able to envision this creature in a way that sees its abilities being possible biologically. With a higher brain function and better control over the chromatophores, the cuttlefish and octopus would be able to contort themselves into all manner of shapes and sizes, while also copying the color and texture that they see in the environment around them. By adding more smooth muscle to the skin, this texture mimicry could be enhanced to the point of feeling exactly the same as the actual original object. Of course, this kind of ability would require a lot of energy, and with the additional protein requirements that an enhanced brain demands, it's only natural for these creatures to seek to feed on better sources of protein, namely large mammals. Deception is an essential strategy in the animal kingdom, and we may one day see such an interesting although terrifying creature evolve right here on Earth. Okay, thank you, Rex. That was also quite interesting. I really enjoyed that. He has taken the mimic creature specifically from the video game Prey and turned it into something quite, I would say, unique. A very interesting idea, I must say, as well. It's something that I remember seeing something similar about it in a theoretical evolutionary path for cephalopods and other such creatures. And I can't remember now what the television show was, but it was very interesting, I think, your take on this whole arrangement of the creatures, especially since we know that they're already intelligent, so it's not too much of a stretch to say that they would extend this even further. So yeah, that was great stuff. And thank you for the copious amounts of Prey illustrations. Not illustrations, Prey screenshots. Alas, I wasn't able to use them all, but again, that was very good. So, with that, we're pretty much done for the 3 videos. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I do want to do something like this again, so next time I'll make an announcement, and please, if you guys have anything interesting you want to share, or even the 4 of you who've made entries want to re-enter, please go ahead and do it. I'm sure that the world would be happy to see what you've got to show. For now, I hope that everybody has a good one, and yeah, this turned out really well. Thank you, guys. Cheerio.